Developmental studies. The concept of development is essentially biological and has been most commonly associated with living structures and life processes. However, the concept has come to be applied to physical systems as well as to social institutions, cultural and systems of ideas. The purpose of developmental studies is to discover origin, direction, trend, pattern, rate and pattern of growth with a somewhat more recent interest in causes and interrelationships affecting growth. Good, 159, 267:8. Longitudinal as cross-section techniques have frequently been used. In longitudinal studies, the growth of a particular group is followed over a period of months or years, whereas in cross-sectional studies, at least a single measurement is obtained for each individual within the group studied. The two types of developmental studies that can be used in the field of educational planning and management are growth studies and trend projection studies described below. Growth studies: a planner, for successful and realistic planning, has to be fully aware of the changes taking place in areas affecting his field. He has to know what interrelated factors affect growth of education at various stages of economic development, when various aspects of growth are first observable and move forward to reach optimal development. Growth studies can be carried out by using either longitudinal or cross-sectional approach. When applying the longitudinal method, one person, group or institution is observed over a period of time, while in cross-sectional method different person or groups are observed at approximately the same time at different stages of development. Cross-sectional approach has an advantage over the longitudinal approach. The former is more economical and has the advantage of gathering data promptly. A planner might well like to study the educational policies being pursued in countries at different levels of economic growth, or might like to study the impact of a certain strategy of educational development being adopted by a country at a comparable level of socio-economic growth. Trend projection studies. Trend studies, also called predictive studies, are another interesting application of descriptive method. This type of research is based on longitudinal consideration of recorded data indicating what has been happening in the past, what the present situation is, and, on the basis of these data, what is likely to happen in the future. This type of research furnishes valuable data for planning programs. These predictions are, however, only estimates and represent tentative conclusions because there are a lot of factors which can hasten or arrest the process of growth and development. All the future plans can be made on the basis of approximately accurate estimates about the future. This is possible only if we critically analyze the past data and existing status. The trends can be mathematically calculated and trend projections can be made on the basis of the past trends. These types of studies may be named as trend projections. Another type of projection study is target-oriented projections. In this way of projections, the targets are set beforehand and the projections are made taking into consideration the existing data and projecting the figures up to the target. For example, when we set the target that universal primary education may be achieved in Pakistan up to the year 1992, and we know that 56% of the existing 5 to 9 year age group are in the primary schools, the projections will be made taking into consideration the existing 56% enrollment ratio in the year 1988 and the target of 100% in the year 1992. In case the projections are of trend type, the progress is likely to be very slow in the situation of Pakistan, and, in case we make the target-oriented projections, the cost estimates are likely to be very high. A third type of projection is, therefore, more realistic, and that is resource-oriented projections. In this type of projections, we as planners keep in view the financial allocations for the subsector for which we are making the projections. Most probably this is the route in between the trend projections and target-oriented projections. These finance-oriented projections are, therefore, made keeping in view the financial allocations made by the government for the plan period. Planning cycle and descriptive research. Now let us look at the planning cycle and decide about the types of research studies that can be used at various stages of the planning cycle. The first stage of the planning cycle is diagnosis, or to assess the present state of educational development and to identify the factors responsible for the present situation with a view to conceive the remedial measures. We can conduct status studies for this purpose and also use the casual comparative studies. Case studies conducted to evaluate the impact of measures introduced during the previous plan and to diagnose reasons for failures or deficiencies can also be useful. At the formulation of policy stage, we can use document analysis to scrutinize previous policies, plans, and other relevant documents. We can also carry out document analysis of the plans and policies of other developing countries at approximately comparable level of socio-economic level. A longitudinal study of the policies adopted by countries which have made rapid strides during the last decade or so would also be highly beneficial. At the stages of assessment of future needs, costing of needs and target setting, we can use trend projection or target-oriented projection studies. Feasibility testing can be done through survey studies. The readiness of the population to innovative ideas, their willingness to participate in the proposed experiments, and the availability of the resources on the ground can be determined through such studies. Plan evaluation needs not be restricted to an assessment of the allocation and utilization of funds and the attainment of physical targets. The emphasis should be on the impact of the plan on the lives of the people. Studies can be carried out through questionnaires, observations, and interviews with the concerned people, parents, students, teachers, administrators, local community leaders, as well as experts in education, management, and plan evaluation to ascertain their views on the shortfalls, bottlenecks, progress, and problems. Such studies can be highly suggestive for evolving a new strategy. Concluding remarks. In spite of improvements made in recent years in research techniques, the analysis and measurement of social phenomena remains less highly developed than in physical sciences. Some variables relevant to education have been identified, isolated, and precisely described, but such knowledge of key variables does not yet exist. A number of statistical techniques have been developed which enable researchers to measure the influence of variables. More sensitive measuring devices have been developed which help control some distorting factors. Work is being done to minimize the sources of errors in measuring devices used to obtain data in descriptive research. It needs to be appreciated that even though descriptive studies are not able to fully analyze and explain phenomena enabling us to control conditions and make accurate predictions, these studies build a foundation of facts upon which explanatory hypotheses can later be constructed and tested.